Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. This is Marc Kramer. I am contacting you, talking to you from the beautiful city of Philadelphia, where everything started in the United States. And I'm only a stone's throw away from the Rocky statue. So if you're coming to Philadelphia, you definitely have to let me know that you're coming here so we could possibly meet. So today we've got some amazing questions to answer, and so let's jump right in. Our first question is from Ricardo Delgado. How can I incentivize employees to stay longer with my company? I own and operate a barber business, and I feel like I can find a way to give the employees stock shares or bonuses that would incentivize them to stick around more and grow with the business. If there's any strategies that have worked out there, I'd like to hear about them. Thank you. So, Ricardo, there's a variety of ways that you can do it. And you have to be very careful about stock and how much stock you give, because if you give any employee over 20% of your stock, when you go to get a bank loan, you got to get them to sign off. And if they don't want to sign off, you can't get the bank loan. Or you want to go and sell the company, there may be issues with that. And every state has different laws for ownership, and it also depends on where you incorporate. So there's a lot of things involved with that. That being said, you can always do phantom shares, so they feel like they're owners. You still control the stock, but they have an attachment to the company growing and the valuation of the company growing. But I think the best thing to do is some kind of profit sharing arrangement with you, where at the end of the year or once a quarter you see what the quarterly profits are. I think quarterly is best because it's sooner, and waiting an entire year is more difficult. And people they're driven by two things. One is they're happy about where they work. So if they enjoy where they're working, very little chance of them changing unless the money is just not enough for them to attain what they're looking to attain, whatever that may be, which could be from buying a house to sending their kids through college to buying a vacation home, travel, whatever that is. And so you need to understand what motivates your people. And that being said, if you can go and show them that after all expenses are in, here's how much money that we could potentially have, and if they can find ways of lowering costs without diluting the value of what you offer at your barbershop, here's how much more money that everybody can go and make. So I think a profit sharing plan makes a lot of sense for you. It's going to be money out of your pocket, but if you're worried about the turnover, which a lot of times can cost more than what you might be paying out in profit share. I had a client of mine who had 3 different administrative assistants during the course of the year, and the reason for this was she just didn't pay enough money for it, and they took it on an interim basis just so they had money coming in while they were looking for something else. And she didn't set up anything that were going to help them succeed financially in the long term. So it's good that you're thinking about this. And again, I would probably go with profit sharing. It could be a combination of profit sharing and phantom shares, or you can look into an employee stock option plan so they can earn interest in the company. But again, I would talk to a lawyer and a tax accountant and see what your options are there. So the next question comes from Demarius Tukes. Demarius asked, when should I hire a CPA as a when should I hire my CPA as a bookkeeper? I operate a phone flipping business and I'm a full-time home inspector. As business grows in both fields, do I know when it's time to flip the switch and get a full-time bookkeeper? I would say you should outsource that function as long as you possibly can, and a bookkeeper is probably enough for what you're doing. A CPA is great when it comes to filling out your quarterly and annual tax returns, because they can take a look at things that you should be putting in there so you can reduce your taxes, also making sure you stay out of trouble by not putting things in there that you really can't go and write off. But I've had clients before that use the CPAs, and I think that's just ridiculous. It's too much money to hire a CPA and what they're going to charge you per hour compared to a bookkeeper. Now there are outsourced bookkeeping organizations both in the US and abroad that could do that function for you. And really, I think not until you're at about $1 million in revenue does it make any sense at all to go and do that. I mean, you really have to be knocking out a lot of invoices and paying a substantial amount of invoices to make that work. I've had consulting practices as high as $500,000, never used a bookkeeper, just did it on my own. But if you're saying, I don't want to be doing it, I kind of think it's a waste of my time, because I would be doing it while I'm watching football on Sunday, then you should go and get a bookkeeper, but definitely not a CPA. Just leave the CPAs doing your tax returns. Next question is from Robin Turpin. Robin asks, what are ideas you would have to build relationships with other local businesses in my area? I'm an independent artist and I sell my art to art enthusiasts and building an online e-commerce store. In order to build my audience locally, I'm looking for ideas you may have to best network and get involved in a local community. Thanks. So it turns out that my very first book that I ever wrote of my 6 was called Power Networking, and I came from a small town where I didn't know anybody. So what I would do is understand who your target market is and how much do you charge for your art and who's most likely to buy your art. So let's say that you're looking at different places to network, and maybe the Rotary Club, which does fabulous work on a global basis, is one of the things that you're considering, and you'd have to look at what's the makeup of that club. What if all the people in that club are basically middle managers of companies or the retirees that just look to help people? That may not be good for you. And maybe the town Chamber of Commerce, maybe that's a good place to go because you find out a lot of CEOs go there, they can write kind of checks. Or you join in the local country club, and that might be a good place to go and network as well. But you might develop strategic partnerships with wineries because wineries are always thought as people who are more sophisticated, usually have a higher income. And what if you had your artwork on their walls, and when people are there for a wine tasting and they look at the art and they go, oh my God, I love that piece of art, where did you get it? Oh, you could buy it right here. And I've seen artists do that in Cape May, New Jersey, where they have their art showing in different restaurants, and the restaurants get a percentage of the sale of the art. And for the restaurants, they like it because it's filling up their walls. They don't have to pay for that. So they could be a potentially good strategic partner. Somebody who goes and sets up homes to be sold, they're always looking for artwork as well, and that could be in there. And if somebody sees it, they go, oh my gosh, is that going to stay or is that going to go with the new owners? Oh no, you could go and buy it. So there's another strategic partner. So understand who your target market is, who the likely buyers are, who are the influencers that can get you in front of these buyers, and that's how the best place is to start networking so you can develop those relationships. But don't waste time with people that you don't think can write the checks or make the introductions. I wish you luck with that. I think that sounds great, and there's lots of opportunity for you. And again, you're in a visual medium, so you want to be in a place where when you're talking to people, oh, here, let me show you some of my art, my phone, here's my website, here's where I'm currently showing my pieces. So there's lots of opportunity as long as you know your target market and who influences that market or who could influence that market. The next question is from Michael Wilding. Michael asks, after you buy into a business, how do you quantify that you have got your investment back? I bought into Ticket Scene a year ago. I've been working at it and have just quit my day job in April. So now the business is paying my wages, but only paying what I would have made in my day job. At present, I don't believe this is getting my investment back. So, Michael, there's two ways to look at this. One is if you hated your job and now you're doing this job, maybe you're enjoying it more. And maybe if you can grow this, now all of a sudden it's not just paying your wage, but it's giving you a pretty good return on investment because now it's making you more money than you would have made. If you would have kept your current job, how would this business have made you more money? Would you have had to hire somebody? Hence, it would have been a long time until you got a good return on the investment. So now you're in business for yourself as an entrepreneur, and maybe this was your calling all along. And now that you're doing this kind of work, maybe you can see different ideas that could expand it, and no longer are you making the $100,000 you were making before you bought this business, but now you're making $500,000 and have a few employees working for you. You've bought that vacation home, and now you're taking 1 or 2 trips a year and really enjoying life. So I think you have to wait a little bit to see how this pans out. But if you were looking for the quick return, probably not happening. But if you wanted to measure the return, when you exceed what you used to make before, and when you can see that you are on the path to paying off what you spent to buy this business, well, then you're really making a good return. If you said, hey, I spent $50,000 on this business, and I'm only making $50,000, and clearly you're not going anywhere with it. So in fact, in a sense, you're losing money because you could have deployed it somewhere else. But if you found something you're really enjoying, you can see that you could expand it and that you could get a significant return, maybe even frees up some hours that you didn't have freed up before, then that's really a good return on investment. But you can take a spreadsheet and put down what you've invested, put down what the stock market return is on a yearly basis, and measure against that and see what happens. Best of luck in your new venture. Kelly Killingsworth asked, what steps would I need to take if I wanted to try and find and hire a commission-based salesperson, since I don't have a budget to pay a salary, but I know there's a business out there? I own an excavation company specializing in site prep, trenching, and road construction. I'm a one-man show. I need to drive sales. I need more work. Having someone else sell and pay them commission is a very new concept for me, but something that I think will benefit my growth. What steps do I need to take to make this happen if possible? Kelly, there's a few things you got to think about here. How long is the sale here? So for instance, if you're selling cars and you're selling on straight commission, that's great. They give you a desk and people flood in all the time. They're looking for cars. And when they come in, rarely do they want to walk out without not buying a car, or they want to buy a car in a relatively short period of time. But if you're talking about trying to get these contracts and it's long term for somebody, how are they going to feed themselves? So if you're looking for just one straight commission person dedicated to you, that's going to be difficult if it's a 6 month to a year sale, or they get the contract but they don't pay you for some period of time, and obviously you're not paying them the commission until you get your money. So maybe the best thing to do is find out who sells to that market, and when they go to sell other products to it, why have them leave money on the table when they could be selling your services as well, and they could get a commission from that. So I would look at people who would sell not direct competitors' services, but services that align with what you're doing, and see if they'd like to offer you as well. So a construction company that's doing work, they could go and sell you in. You have some kind of profit split with them. People who are providing this machinery to be done, and somebody says, hey, do you know anybody who could do the excavation? And they go recommend you all the time. I knew a guy who sold roofing supplies, and he would get commissions all the time. He was selling both the supplies to the people doing it, and he was getting people asking him, who do you know who would be a good roofer to do this? And he would send the deal to the roofers that were buying product from him, and they would give him a commission on all those things. So think about strategic referral sources and see if those folks can help you and give them a commission. But if you're just talking straight commission, one person dedicated to you, and the sales cycle is long, it's not on a weekly basis where they're going to get paid, you got to ask yourself, how are they going to pay their own mortgages and car payments and everything else? And you can say, well, maybe they have a spouse that is doing it for them, but more than likely that spouse wants them to have also a steady income coming in. unless it's just, hey, it's a spouse that's staying home with kids, just wants to work part-time, a little bit of pocket money. Maybe you can get that, but I think you really want somebody who cares that they can make money from you and that they can help you on not a short-term, but an ongoing basis. So I would look for a strategic referral source. Next question is from Stella Najasek. I'm so sorry, Stella, that I must be ruining your name here. But Stella asks, how do I start working on the yearly financial plan for my e-commerce store? Planning, budgeting, evaluating, predicting. I own a personal sportswear brand in Croatia. We've been on the market for 18 months and I'm noticing the lack of cash flow as I always need to buy in advance to sell later. From your experience, what would you suggest to work on to avoid negative cash flow? Here's what I would suggest, Stella. One is do a spreadsheet showing all of your expenses, all of the time it takes you to work on this, but really the cash that's going out to go and do it. And plan on understanding how quick is the cycle from the time that you get the product and you sell it. And see if you can get better terms from the people that you're buying product from. My guess is you're too small to get really longer terms, but if you can show them month over month significant growth and tell them that you could grow more if you had better terms, then there's a good chance that they're going to go and work with you on this. But I would go and do a spreadsheet showing all of your costs, what the cycle is for when people are buying, how often they typically buy, take a look at your past sales and see what that looks like, and then figure out what the timing is for when you actually have to pay for the products that you're selling on there. And again, as I mentioned before, if you can get better terms, stretch them out a little bit, or let's say you stretch them out some, but you might have to pay some interest. And if you can put that interest into the product itself when you're selling it without putting you in a position where you've outpriced what the market is willing to pay, that might work out really well for you. So I would definitely take a look at all your expenses, how much money comes in, when it comes in, what your agreements are with the sportswear companies. And maybe there's some sportswear companies that are up and coming, like younger designers, and they're willing to give you a better contract than existing ones. But I imagine if you're trying to resell Nike and some other ones, it's pretty stringent. You're not large enough to really negotiate anything with them, and so therefore you're stuck with that. But if you can find some up-and-coming products and market those products and tell people, oh my gosh, you got the latest and greatest of this amazing designer, then I think you can negotiate with the designer to take it on consignment and only pay them for what you sell. Or you have it on your website and you get paid and then you pay them and they ship it out. So there's different ways to go about it. I would even look at what are you taking in that could be handled by somebody else, and that maybe you get a little bit smaller margin, but actually end up with more cash at the end of the day because you're not handling all of the functions of it, and you're certainly not paying for product that you're holding and waiting for it to turn over, which means that gives you the cash crunch that you're having problems with now. Wish you best of luck with that. I think it's really cool. You should post on your site what you're selling, unless you're only selling to Croatians, but there might be a number of Croatians that are watching our show. Okay, our next question is from Lysandra Wilson. Lysandra asked, how should I handle businesses who want to purchase my items at wholesale or discounted prices? If discount items and work with these companies, how much should I discount my prices? I have a baking company that specializes in custom desserts. I have 3 businesses who have approached me about working with them. One is a small business that curates luxury picnics and is looking for a baker to work with and who can bake items for their customers as part of the package they offer. The second is a store that sells locals homemade items. The owner is looking to add more baked goods to her inventory. The third is a local hotel that's part of a national chain. The local location is looking to have local baked items as a gift for select guests and special events. This sounds like a fabulous opportunity. I actually created spreadsheets for something similar to this. It was a caterer, and we figured out what all of our costs are. Like, how much does the oil cost that you're putting in? How much is a stick of butter? Every single thing, we figured out the cost. Then we figured out how much time does this person take in baking these products. So it's how much time do they spend sourcing the materials to be making the products, how much time did they spend prepping, how much time did they spend the actual putting it together and baking it, how much time did they spend delivering it. So you got to figure out all your cost and break down all of your cost for the ingredients. I mean, I guess if you wanted to, I could send you a spreadsheet, and Sean could put you in contact with me if you'd like to see a sample spreadsheet. I'm glad to send it to you so you can see it. Or, of course, you can always contact me and ask me for help in this area. But that's what the best thing to do is break down all of your cost and see what it's actually costing you to make that cake, that pie, whatever it is, and then come back to them and say, here's all my cost. I'm showing you all these costs, and I add 20% to this or 25%, and that's my cost. And now you can upsell it for whatever number that you want to go and sell it or buy it for, but this is what it costs me to go and do, plus my profit margin. And your profit margin's got to also, when you're figuring your expenses, the cost of your machinery, if you are renting space from somebody for cooking, or if you're paying rent for your space. I mean, there's a lot of things that you got to put in when you're figuring out your cost of what your product is actually, how much you should actually get. Because a lot of times people like yourself underprice what they're doing. And of course, you got to see what the competitors are offering for a similar thing. And you might even go around and have somebody contact competitors and say, hey, I'm looking to buy these kinds of things. I'm thinking about starting a store. What would you sell it? You can get some competitive information related to that, or do it in another town and get competitive information for what other people are charging. But if you didn't do any of that, best thing to do is do a spreadsheet and figure out what each ingredient costs to put in, how much time you're spending sourcing the goods that go into it, how much time baking it, how much time delivering it. All those things need to be taken in to consideration, and then you're able to come up with a price, mark it up whatever percent you think is appropriate, 20, 25%, 50%, whatever that may be, and now you're able to give them a price to go and do it. They might tell you, oh my gosh, we're going to give you a volume of business. Well, how much business do you think you can give me? Then you can back out numbers into that. So let's say they say, oh, we could have you making 100 cakes a year. And then you take a look at 100 cakes and say, well, if they signed a contract where they're going to give me 100 cakes, regardless if I bake them or not, well, here's what it could be. I can afford to lower my price by this if I'm getting 100 cakes, or I'm getting 50 cakes a month, whatever that may be. So you have to do very detailed financials to understand what your real costs are, what your margin needs to be, and then figure out how much volume that these folks would give you. And also, when you do these costs, when you figure this out, my clients always see afterwards, if I bought this ingredient, it really wouldn't reduce the quality of my product, but I would have a better margin if that happened. Well, that was the last question for today. I enjoyed answering all of these questions. You seem to all be in a great path. I wish you all the best of luck and look forward to seeing you next month. Have a great rest of your day and a safe weekend.